Earth received the report the way Earth always did. Slowly, carefully, with too many people in the loop and too much fear of being wrong. The data packet left Mars in silence, crossed the cold distance, and arrived on screens in clean conference rooms where the air was thick and safe. On Mars, nothing felt clean or safe. The signal kept pulsing under the sand, steady and patient. It no longer felt like background noise. It felt like a presence that had learned the shape of human attention. Commander Mara Cade gathered the crew in the main module as soon as the Earth response arrived. Elara and Jun sat at the table. Isaac projected the message onto the wall screen in simple lines. Earth Command acknowledged the anomaly. Earth Command requested more data. Earth Command advised caution. Earth Command advised no direct interaction, no speech tests, no emotional language, no assumptions. Earth Command advised that the crew must not take unnecessary risks or leave safe range. Earth Command suggested a controlled set of measurements from the surface, then wait. Elara read the message twice. The words were correct. The advice was reasonable, but it came from a place that did not feel the floor under its feet. Cade looked at Elara. Your recommendation. Elara kept her voice calm. We follow procedure. We collect more data without provoking anything. We do not speak to it. We do not treat it like a person. We treat it like a signal until proven otherwise. Jun's hands were folded tight. He looked tired. He had not slept much after episode 1. He had kept watching the pattern as if it might change again the moment he looked away. Cade looked at Jun. Your recommendation. Jun hesitated. The signal is not random. It is structured. It responds to our presence, even if we do not want to admit that. I think we should find the source because guessing from here will keep us blind. Cade nodded once. And the risk. Jun swallowed. The risk is that it is not just a rock process. The risk is that it can affect our systems. The risk is that if we pretend it is nothing, we will miss the moment it becomes something. Cade turned to Isaac. Status, Isaac replied in a steady voice. Habitat systems nominal. No external breaches. Power reserves within mission limits. Subsurface sensor array stable. Signal continues. Signal complexity increasing by small increments. Elara's chest tightened at the last sentence. She did not like the idea of complexity increasing. She did not like the idea that time itself was making the situation worse. Cade made a decision. We do not go on a long EVA. Earth is right about that, but we can do more than sit here and stare. Elara looked at Cade. You mean drilling? Cade nodded. Controlled drilling. Short range, tethered, with abort conditions. If the signal changes again in a way that looks like response, we stop. Jun looked relieved and frightened at the same time. Elara did not argue. She knew Cade was balancing two dangers. The danger of action and the danger of delay. They prepared like professionals. Elara checked the drill rig plan. Jun checked data links and the timing logs. Cade reviewed suit safety. Isaac ran simulations for pressure and power draw. The target area was still Aeolus deep, but they could not reach the exact origin point yet. It was too far, so they chose a nearer location within safe EVA range that sat on the same subsurface structure line. A place where the ground radar had hinted at void space, possibly a lava tube, possibly a fractured cavern. Mars had ancient volcanoes. Long ago, lava could have flowed like rivers, then cooled on top, leaving hollow tunnels below. These tunnels were one of the reasons humans chose this region. Lava tubes could offer shelter from radiation, shelter from dust storms, shelter from the hard sky. Elara liked that logic when it was theory. She liked it less when she stood on red soil and realized tunnels meant darkness and darkness meant unknown. Before the EVA, Elara checked her message queue again. Lena's new video arrived while Elara was sealing her suit collar. The delay meant Lena had recorded it hours ago on Earth, while Elara on Mars was only just receiving it now. Elara watched it quickly, even though Cade disliked distractions before a task. Lena sat at a kitchen table with a pencil in her hand. Hi, Mom. I did my homework. I tried to draw your habitat. I made the windows big so you can see outside. Dad says Mars is quiet, but I think Mars is listening. Because if you are there, then Mars is not alone. I miss you. Come back soon, okay? Elara froze for a second, not because of the words, but because Lena had said the exact fear Elara was trying not to say out loud. Mars is listening. Elara closed the video. She forced herself to breathe slowly. She looked at her gloves. She looked at the mission checklist. She locked her feelings behind training, because training was the only thing that kept you alive on Mars. Cade's voice came through the suit comms. Elara, status! Elara answered. Ready. Jun stayed inside the habitat, watching the consoles. His job was to listen, record, and warn them if anything shifted. If the signal changed, he would see it first. Cade and Elara stepped into the airlock. The inner door sealed. The pressure dropped. The suit systems took over. The outer door opened and Mars filled their vision. The air outside was so thin it hardly felt like air. The sky was a deep, dark color that made the sun look harsh. The ground was dusty, but not soft like sand. It was sharp dust, fine particles that wanted to get into every seal and crease. Every step looked gentle, but every step mattered. They moved carefully, following a marked path from habitat to drill site. A small rover rolled beside them, carrying tools and the drill head. The rover was slow, but reliable. Humans on Mars did not rush. Rushing was how you died. As they walked, Elara kept seeing the same thing in her mind, the waveform from last night, the way the signal adjusted toward her breathing, the way it placed a ripple inside the long pause, like a signature. She wanted to believe it was only a strange planet rhythm, but her body did not believe that. Her body kept reacting like the ground had eyes. They reached the drill point. Cade planted stabilizers. Elara connected cables. The rover positioned the drill head. Everything was routine, and yet nothing felt routine. Jun's voice came through their comms. Signal is steady, pattern unchanged, timing stable, no new ripple changes. Elara replied. Copy. Cade replied. Copy. They began drilling. The bit cut into the regolith. The sound did not travel like Earth sound because there was almost no air. But the vibration traveled through the tool, through their gloves, through their arms, and into their bones. Elara felt the drilling rather than heard it. It felt like a pressure in the body, steady and stubborn. Isaac spoke into the comms, its voice calm. Power draw within expected range. Drill temperature nominal. The drill went deeper. 1 meter. 2, 3. The samples were dry, mineral rich, old dust, old rock. At 5 meters, the resistance changed slightly. The drill moved smoother, then rougher, then smooth again. Elara watched the torque readings and frowned. Torque variation, she said. Cade answered. Could be layering. Elara knew that was true. Mars had layers from storms, volcanic ash, impacts, and time, but her mind kept imagining something else. A surface that was not random, a boundary. Jin's voice came through again. Signal strength is rising by a small amount. Elara felt her heartbeat change. How small? About 3%, Jun replied. Still within natural variation, but it is trending. Cade spoke without panic. Keep logging, Jun replied. Already logging. The drill continued. 7 meters, 8, 9. At 10 meters, the drill hit something that made Elara stop breathing. The resistance dropped. Not like softer soil. Not like a crack. It dropped like the drill had entered open space. Elara lifted her hand. Stop! Cade stopped the drill immediately. The vibration ceased. The sudden stillness felt loud inside Alara's head. Elara checked the readings. The drill was still turning, but it was not cutting anything. It is free spinning, she said. Cade's voice sharpened. Void. Elara forced herself to think in practical steps. We may have entered a cavern, a tube, or a pocket. We need imaging. They lowered a small camera unit into the shaft, tethered and sealed. The camera had lights because sunlight would not reach that far down. As the camera descended, Elara watched the feed on her suit display. At first, there was only dirt walls. Then the walls changed. The surface became smoother, not perfectly polished, but smoother than fractured rock should be at this depth. It looked shaped, not broken. It looked like the inside of a manufactured pipe, except it was far too large. The camera dropped another meter, then the view opened. Empty space, a hollow chamber. Elara felt her mouth go dry. She did not want to say anything dramatic, so she spoke like a scientist. "We are in a cavity." Cade replied, calm but tense. "Describe." Elara stared at the image. The chamber wall was not random rock. It had geometry, straight lines, angles, a repeating pattern that looked like hexagons fused together, like a honeycomb carved into stone. But it was not soft like a natural honeycomb. It looked like a design. It looked like a grid. Elara forced the words out slowly. "The wall has repeating hex patterns. It looks structured." Cade paused. "Natural basalt can form hex columns." Elara knew that. She had studied it, but the pattern on the wall did not look like column fractures. It looked too even, too intentional, too connected. Elara spoke carefully. "This does not look like ordinary column cooling. It looks like layered plating." Kay did not answer right away. She was staring at the feed, too. June's voice cut in, tight with disbelief. "Elara, the signal just increased." Alara's breath caught. "How much?" 10%, Jun said, and it shifted frequency slightly. Cade's tone changed. "Abort." Alara's mind split. One part wanted to obey and pull back. Another part wanted one more second of data. Elara controlled herself. She began pulling the camera up. As the camera rose, something happened that froze her hand. On the wall, the hex pattern dimly changed, not like a light turning on, more like a shadow sliding. A section of the wall seemed to respond to the camera light. A line appeared, faint at first, then clearer. A seam, a boundary, a shape that could have been a door. Elara whispered without meaning to. "No." Cade heard the tone. "What?" Elara forced a simple answer. "There is a seam, a straight seam, like a panel line." Cade's voice stayed controlled. "Continue extraction." Elara pulled the camera higher. The seam remained visible for a moment, then faded as the angle changed. It was as if it only appeared when the camera was at the right depth and the right light. When the camera reached the surface, Elara and Cade stood in silence for a few seconds. Their suit visors reflected the red ground and the harsh sky. Elara realized she had been holding her breath. Jun spoke from inside the habitat. "The signal is now stronger than last night. It is stable at that level. It is not dropping." Isaac added, "Habitat power system reports a brief microdraw during the camera descent. Source unknown. Duration 4 seconds. Cade turned her helmet slightly, as if looking at the ground with suspicion. "A power draw from what?" Isaac answered, "Unknown." Elara stared at the drill hole. The idea landed in her mind with a cold weight. Something down there might not only be receiving signals, it might be interacting with energy. It might be touching their systems through the environment. Cade made a decision. We return to habitat. Now. Elara did not argue. They secured the drill, sealed the shaft, and moved back along the path. The walk felt longer than before, even though it was the same distance. Mars did not look different, but Elara felt different inside it. The plane no longer felt empty. It felt like a lid. Back in the airlock, pressure returned. The outer door sealed. The inner door opened. They stepped into the warm machine air of the habitat. Jun was waiting at the console, eyes wide, face pale. He had recorded everything. He had watched the signal rise and shift in real time. He looked like a man who had seen a wave coming and realized he could not stop it. Cade did not waste time. Report. Jun turned the screen toward them. The signal increased exactly when the drill entered the cavity. It increased again during the camera drop. It stabilized higher after we pulled the camera out. That looks like response. Elara sat down slowly. Her body felt heavy. Show the pattern. Jun played the waveform. The pulses were still there, but they were stronger now. The long pause still existed, and inside the long pause, the ripple was clearer than before. Elara stared at it. It is sharpening, Jun nodded. Yes. Kate asked. Any direct translation? Jun hesitated. Not words, but the ripple is no longer random. It has consistent substructure. It is like a code forming. Elara looked at the wall screen where the cavern image was still displayed. The hex grid, the seam line, the unnatural feeling of design. Kate asked the hardest question. What do you think it is? Elara wanted to answer with safety. She wanted to say basalt columns, natural voids, stress resonance. She wanted to say everything was fine, but she could not lie. I think we found a built space, Elara said. I do not know who built it. I do not know when. I do not know what it is for. But the geometry is not normal. Jun swallowed. And it is reacting to us. Cade held the room in her gaze. We report to Earth with full data. We do not go back down until we have a plan. We do not push deeper because curiosity feels good. We stay alive. Elara nodded. Jun nodded. Even Isaac felt quieter, as if the habitat itself was listening. Elara walked to her small sleeping space and sat on the edge of the bunk. She opened Lena's earlier message again, the part where Lena said Mars might be listening. Elara did not play it this time. She just looked at the frozen frame of Lena's face and felt something sharp in her chest. Elara returned to the main module. Jun was still at the console, running models. Cade was writing the report. Isaac was monitoring power for any unusual draw. The signal kept pulsing, stronger now, as if the drill had tapped on a door and the door had decided to breathe louder. Then, near midnight Mars time, the pattern shifted again. Jun stiffened. It changed. Cade stepped in. Explain. Jun pointed at the long pause on the waveform. The ripple inside it had become crisp, like a line drawn with intent. Jun's software, built for pattern recognition, tried to fit it into known categories. It failed. Then it did something strange. It offered a simple label, not because it understood meaning, but because it matched a shape. One word appeared on the screen as a suggestion. Remember. Elara felt the blood drain from her face. Jun looked at her, voice barely steady. It is not a translation. It is a pattern match, but it keeps matching the same way. Cade stared at the word, then at Elara. What does that mean? Elara whispered, and she hated how small her voice sounded. It means it is forming language, or it is forming something that looks like language. Jun's eyes stayed locked on the screen, and it chose that word. Elara looked at the drill site map, then at the cavern image, then at the pulsing waveform. She felt the simple truth settle in the room. They had not just found a hole in the ground. They had found a place that noticed them, and now it was asking for something. Not help, not fear, not worship. Remember. And Elara could not escape the thought that followed. If something on Mars wanted to be remembered, then something on Mars had once been alive enough to be forgotten.